thought we'd put this together from Sculpture Placement Group to talk about SPG Club, monthly subscription scheme for contemporary sculptures. And you can find us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. You can go to the website and get all the information about the project if you're interested. Okay, so if you could all just introduce yourself, that would be great.
I'm Michelle from Sculpture Placement Group. I'm one of the co-directors of Sculpture Placement Group, and I help select the artworks for SPG Club.
I am Martin. I'm also one of the co-directors of Sculpture Placement Group. I'm also curator of art post-1945 at Glasgow Museums.
I'm Kate V. Robertson. I'm one of the co-directors of Sculpture Placement Group, and I'm also an artist. I make sculpture and installation.
Great. Well, we thought that we would talk a little bit about your SPG Club project. So maybe we could get Michelle to sort of just give us an introduction about what the project is and how you kind of came up with it. Why is it relevant? That kind of side of things.
SPG Club is a membership or a subscription scheme for sculpture. We came up with it as an idea as quite a kind of democratic way of making art affordable, to collect art for your home, have it in your home and enjoy it on a daily basis. We thought that quite often being able to collect sculptures out with a lot of people's reach. And if you were able to pay a monthly fee and have a kind of critical mass of members, that it might make it a bit more affordable for people to collect sculpture. We also thought it would be really great if we could give some memberships away for free to not-for-profit groups. And that's really about opening up access to contemporary art for people that might not be able to access it either through collection or that they might just not go to galleries and stuff very much.
Amazing.
Okay.
Is there anything that you'd like to add to that, Kate?
Yeah, I guess we're, because we're an organisation focused on sculpture specifically, we're aware that when people think about buying art, they tend to go immediately to sort of two-dimensional mediums. So maybe a print for the wall would be a really common sort of way of collecting editions. And so we're always looking at ways to make sculpture more affordable, as Michelle said, but also making it easier and sort of promoting the idea of collecting sculpture, because I think it's just not one of the first mediums you maybe think about for a domestic setting. So we thought it'd be really interesting to think about how we can address the sort of scale challenges of that are often sort of put people off buying sculpture, maybe thinking that they wouldn't have room for it. So I guess we're interested in sort of promoting the idea of small scale sculptures. And again, we're really interested in how sort of long-term engagement with sculpture, experiencing it on a kind of day-to-day basis, can really sort of change your relationship with artworks, or is a sort of different way to enjoy artworks rather than thinking about maybe making a trip to a gallery. So we're always looking at different ways to sort of bring it into people's everyday lives, whether that's in the workplace and with SPG Club, obviously specifically for the home, thinking about how that might change your relationship to artworks.
Mm. And Martin, as well as being a director, obviously you collect work as well. So just thinking from that kind of perspective, what you feel like the appeal is as kind of like a collector.
Yeah. So obviously I collect for Glasgow Museums, which is quite a different thing in a certain sense, because you're bringing in larger works, but also maybe ironically, fundamentally, I'm also a bit of a hoarder or collector in that sense. I enjoy objects. So yeah, definitely echo what Kate was saying around having sculpture in your home, and actually got a wee sculpture and Andy Holden actually in the back, and I think that was the first thing I ever bought, and it was such a risk at the time. It was about 2011. It was his collective show in Edinburgh, and at the time, it was a bit of money that I didn't have, but I really just had that love of it. And actually, once you have it there, years later, you kind of forget about that and just enjoy the object, and actually. and end up wanting to collect more and have those things in your home. So yeah, hopefully SPG Club helps people be a wee bit bolder with their choices, but also helps economically as well, people to be able to afford artwork, as we've all said. So really hoping to break down some barriers and get some sculptural joy in people's homes.
Great. So I thought maybe we could talk about some of the curatorial choices where you picked Holly Hendry and Andy Holden, which are the two artists that are making work for this year's subscription. But maybe we could talk about them a little bit, and then following that we could just speak about why you picked the charities that you're gifting to as well. So maybe Michelle, we could start with you. I know you were keen to speak about Andy Holden's work. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm happy to talk about Andy's work. Andy is an amazing artist, I think. And I was thinking really a lot about why I really like his work, because I knew we were going to have this chat. But and I think one of the things that Andy does really well is that he makes really complex ideas really accessible, across a really broad range of publics. So thinking about a project that I worked with Andy on before, Laws of Motion in a Cartoon Landscape, that project had some really, really complex political ideas and within it, but everyone could engage with it on some level, from like little kids that came to his cartoon screenings to people that were there for Glasgow International to engage with it in a kind of purely, as an artwork. And I think that's what he's really, really amazing at doing. He takes really huge ideas and makes them understandable, but without dumbing it down. And it's a very, very difficult thing to do well. He also just makes really amazing works in worlds where you can immerse yourself completely in the work, I think, and you can sit with works that are really quite challenging in terms of taking up your time as well, and you really don't feel like in any way, it feels quite effortless, I think. And I think the chance to have like a piece of work that is made by Andy, like in your house, that you can engage with on a day-to-day basis, would be really something quite special, because the work that he creates for his gallery shows is maybe not something that you could even ever imagine having in your home. And the fact that he's taken time away from that kind of practice to think about, well, what are elements of that work that I could embed in people's everyday lives is a really amazing thing.
Mm. What about you, Kate?
Yeah, so I'm just really a big fan of Holly's work. I've been admiring it for a number of years, and I've seen a few of her works in the flesh, and they're really recognizable, but they're also like sort of nothing you've seen before as well. She's got very distinctive style. She has this sort of inside out way of making sculpture, where she sort of makes a form and then fills it and then kind of removes the outer part, so she doesn't know what she's going to get until it's kind of revealed. And she talks about it like sort of excavation. She's really interested in kind of underground or unseen spaces, so she makes a lot of work to do with like archaeology or underground systems like sewers and tunnels, and also sort of about the body, like digestive systems. And I think that that kind of idea of the sort of filling the void and then revealing something that you hadn't you've no way of seeing otherwise, or imagining what these sort of unseen spaces might look like, is really interesting. But a bit like Michelle was saying with Andy, there's always something really immediately recognizable that anyone would recognize. She does have a sort of cartoony mode of working as well, so there might be like all this mass of plaster and different types of material, but then there'll be like a bone or a screw or something made of marble, which you can sort of really jumps out and sort of speaks in a different register. But why we wanted to choose her for the SPG Club, I think, was just she has a really interesting relationship to scale. So she works quite monumentally, or she really fills whatever space she is working in, but she has made smaller pieces before, and it's really the exact same sort of sensibility and methodology that she applies to working small and large scale, or across any, all of her different works. There's a real core approach which she is faithful to, and it might look very different, but you just get that same sort of sense of what she's trying to achieve. So we thought for the domestic environment, and for something that does have to be quite modest in scale, it'd be really interesting to see what she comes up with when thinking about that, how to consider hidden spaces, or the fact that it's such a small, intimate audience you have with works in the home. We just thought that might transfer really well. We were also looking to select artists who would be interesting for them to modify their approach to that context. So we obviously selected artists we thought would be interested in that context, and who it might open up something else for them to kind of respond to that. So I think she also shares with Andy this sort of accessibility of being able to get something from the work on lots of different levels, no matter whether you understand the theme she's dealing with, or if you're just looking at it for the first time. So it was important for us to choose artists that could appeal to people in different ways and on different levels, and I guess who it's a good starting point, the fact that we love both these artists' work. I think that felt like an important thing as well. Yeah, so I think it's a really great choice for the first edition, and just can't wait to see what they're going to produce. I mean, that's obviously another important aspect of the scheme, is the fact that you don't know what the sculpture hasn't been made yet, so you don't know what it's going to look like. And we appreciate there's a risk involved in that, but it's also really exciting, because it's unknown to us all, and it's going to be that moment when you open the box, which I think will be really special. So we've chosen artists that we are really confident will make something great, but we'll just have to wait and see what it is.
Yeah, that's what I'm excited about. Like, both of you really summed them up amazing there, but actually what's exciting about the project going forward, if we're lucky enough to do other editions as well, is artists who work in galleries around the world, but having to suddenly think about that intimate audience and in the smaller space within a domestic setting. Then yeah, I'm really excited to see what the artists make, and also see, hopefully through social media or conversations, what the subscribers, the audience does with them as well in their own home.
Great. Yeah, and so another side of the project is sort of what you sort of touched on earlier about sharing it with not only just the domestic spaces, but those other interior spaces via organizations and charities that might not have art or sculpture present in them, and offering those experiences. So maybe you could talk about the organizations and non-profits, etc., that are going to be beneficiaries of this year's club.
So one of the organisations is Kirkton Home Primary School, who are a primary school based in East Kilbride, who their head teacher Linda has a real passion for getting the kids engaged with creativity, and she's really amazing at thinking of, I guess, creative ways in which she could, there's money that they have for, like specific or not non-specific really things she wants to spend it on, like ways to get the kids engaged with culture and creativity. And I think that's really, really inspiring, because you quite often hear about the narrowing of opportunity for people to young people and kids to engage with that kind of thing within the curriculum. So I think it's really amazing that that's what Linda has set as a real priority for the kids, and she's been interested in some of her other projects. So she's someone that we've spoken to about different things along the way, and she's commissioned workshops from artists that we've worked with, and we thought, you know, when we were thinking about beneficiaries, we thought, wouldn't that be a great audience for the work? You know, a whole primary school full of kids that, you know, get their own sculptures that they can keep and engage with over a really long period of time. And we thought that was a really, really great audience for this work, and one that perhaps wouldn't necessarily otherwise get the chance to engage with this work. So yeah, that's Kirkton Home. I don't know if Kate wants to speak about some of the other ones.
Yeah, so one of our other beneficiaries is Govan Hill Housing Association. We've been wanting to work with a housing association across a number of projects. We just sort of recognise that it's an organisation that have lots of premises. They deal with premises, and we're always looking at how we can have sculptures on sort of open display or in open storage. So through the adoption scheme, it's always thinking about who has space and a community that, you know, that might benefit from these sculptures. But obviously questions of scale are you know, have been an issue in the past of having sculptures that can fit in your space and not get in the way, and that will be safe. So so this was an immediate thought that these sculptures will be ideal for an organisation that deals with providing residences for people, and obviously a lot of the tenants of Govan Hill Housing Association will be able to see these artworks. They're not sure where they're going to place them, but they've got a number of options, and they might rotate them around, and it will be based in communal spaces, so maybe meeting rooms, shared spaces, entranceways, that kind of thing. So it's a chance for a lot of different people to experience the sculptures, and so that was something that was, you know, important for us to think about who has a good community of users who and an appropriate sort of environment that these sculptures could be really sort of enjoyed the most. And a lot of the residents, you know, would be unlikely to afford the subscription scheme, or perhaps not have the resources to be able to collect artworks. So it's a way to make those available to them. So yeah, so that it's a really good partnership, and we're looking forward to seeing how it goes.
And then there is a third one, but we can't reveal that yet. But it's just a wee bit of still a bit of negotiation going down. But hopefully we'll reveal that soon. But I guess obviously, as we've been talking about the subscription scheme, I think it's important to point out with all our projects, we really think about it having different layers and different ethics. So it's ethical challenges. So it's great that like artists have been paid properly. It's great that there's no waste because the works are being made specifically for these. We're breaking down hopefully barriers to people accessing work, but then also trying to think about how we can give out for free to charities and groups like this. And again, if Sculpture Club continues, then that just means that all these other charities and organisations, we can continue to give more and more as the time goes on, which is really exciting.
So I want to thank you all for coming on the camera today.
Thanks, Josh.
But let us know if you need a redo.
I think that I thought that was really good. I think that would be great.
Oh, good.
Hopefully you'll be able to cut something out of it.
Definitely.